Hello, everybody. So take your mind back to 2021, and it was a perfect storm. And there was all this talk about GameStop and what does it mean? And our group chose to analyze it using all the data skills that we've acquired throughout the duration of our studies, and looking at it with a new critical eye. So let's make sure we understand the backdrop before we go into the analysis. Okay, so the background is there's this company called GameStop. It's a video game and a software retailer. And we're going to do a case study on what happened to make the stocks rise in January 2021, as we saw in the news. We're going to use a time series analysis. We're going to use a sentiment analysis because of some social media effect that it had. And we're going to culminate it all in a Streamlit demo by Sonali. So more on our background. This is for context. So this is the background of GameStop. In 1984, it's a company. It was founded in Texas. In the 80s, it sold video games like Atari and Nintendo. So you know it's old school. In 2002, it went public on the New York Stock Exchange. And in 2016, it kind of reached its peak. It had 6,000 stores. People were lining up when there was like a new game release, $9 billion in annual sales. And then enter scene Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo eShop, all these downloadable games are coming on. So there's this spiral in GameStop stock. Oh, try to say that fast. They're closing stores, they're losing money. Now, let me introduce another player in this story. It's Wall Street Bets. Now, Wall Street Bets is a subreddit. Reddit is a board where people chat about different topics, and subreddits are specialized topics. So Wall Street Bets is one topic that becomes a major player in this story. And it started in 2012, and most of us, if we're not involved in that stuff, never really heard of it. I've included a screenshot of what it looks like on Reddit. But in March 2020, it becomes part of our cultural lexicon. And if you want to see the climb, in 2021, it had 3 million. In January 2021, it had 3 million followers. In February 2021, 8 million. Today, 12 million. So what is said in that forum affects a lot of people. And they kind of are responsible for these meme stocks that we kept reading about. And GameStop is the one we focus on, but the list included AMC, BlackBerry, and Bed Bath & Beyond. Okay, so I'm going to go through a play-by-play of the GameStop volatility timeline. Before I do that, I just want to make sure everyone's up to speed on the stock market and the stocks that we're going to be analyzed, the way we analyze the stock market. So every day there's an open price and a closed price and a high price and a low price. So there's movement throughout the day. For most of our analysis, we focus on the closing price. In addition to the price, there's also the volume, and the volume refers to the amount of shares that are traded. And not everybody was aware of this at the start. So we want to make sure that everyone is primed for understanding everything that happened. Okay, so we're going back to January 11th, 2021. And remember, in the background, it's pandemic time. We've got stimulus checks. Robinhood is now a popular app where you can trade stocks almost like they're gambling, and it's like a fun game. And people got a lot more time on their hands. So GameStop had not been doing so well, and they replaced their board members, and they announced it on January 11th. I'm actually going to show this detail on the next screen, but basically, they made an announcement. There was chatter in GameStop, and the price starts rising. Enter Elon Musk. Every story needs a fantastic villain. And Elon Musk, at one point, he tweets GameStonk, one word, and it sent the stock price up soaring. Within a minute, all of a sudden, people are like, what do we do? What do we do? We can't control this. And Robinhood actually, for the first time ever, restricted all transactions on GameStop. And lawmakers started saying, hey, maybe we're going to get involved. And the volatility has continued to this day. And at the close, it was $138 as of yesterday. But prior to that, it had been trading at $20 for 6 months prior to this January 11th announcement. So let's take a look at the next slide, and we're going to look at this story on a timeline. Before we look at the story on a timeline, let's take a look back at the last 10 years. And you see from 2010 to 2022, GameStop is like hovering between $0, $20, up to $50, a little down, back down to 20, and then damn, it's at 350. So let's go ahead and like look at a zero in on that last jump of a period. There's different ways to visualize data, and we wanted to explore that. So we're very used to the line chart where numbers go up and down, but since we're data scientists now, we thought we'd introduce the box plot. And as everyone knows, or as some of you might know, and as some of you might learn today, a box plot is a box with whiskers that shows the median plot, the median line in the middle, and the distribution into the quartiles, and there's a high and the low. So as you can see in the box plot by year from 2011 to 2022, you can see that the distribution is not very much throughout the years. In 2013, there's a little bit of variety. In 2015, there's a little bit of variety. But for the most part, the price stays very close to each other. It's a little higher some years, it's a little lower some years, but it's never climbing much above 50. In 2021, you see this dramatic distribution. The variance is very high, and it continues on in 2022 as well. And we thought, while we're looking at box plots, we'd look at them as a breakdown by month. And as you can see in 2020, when we look at every month, it's virtually the same. There's just this very, very calm progression month by month by month in 2020. When we get to 2021, it's dramatic. Again, the swings of up and down prices are moving so profoundly throughout the months. We just wanted to give you full context for different ways to visualize what actually happened that year. Now we're going to do, finally, long awaited, the breakdown of day by day in January. So what you're looking at here is a zoomed in line chart of the beginning of January to the end of March and the stock prices. On the left, on the y-axis, we have the closing price. As I said, there's an opening price, a closing price. The high and the low can range throughout the day, but we're zeroing in on the closing price. And on the x-axis, we have the dates. So on January 11th, there was that announcement that the board is going to have new members, and that's positive news, according to the chatter at Wall Street Bets. And as you can see, the closing price is just about $20, and the volume is about 14 million. And for the 6 months prior, and even for the few years, that was around the same. 2 days later, there's more chatter, and the price is going up, significantly. So now we have it closed at $31 on January 13th. By January 22, again, there's more chatter, and the closing price is going up to 65, and the volume is increasing as well. By January 26th is when Elon Musk had his tweet, and that day the close was 147, which is dramatic. And the next day, in response to that tweet, one word, but he has 44 million followers, the closing price was 347. And that's when, government and the private industry both said, wow, we need to do something about it. And the volatility continued on, but those few days are the crux of our story. Now, before I pass the rein over to Sonali to show the breakdown of the analysis and the different ways we can use data to visualize that, let's just take a quick look at the volume, because we've been talking about the closing price, but let's just pay attention to how many people were involved. So what we're looking at is the average volume by month, and we just zeroed in on 2020 and 2021. So as you can see, the volume, and that means the amount of trades per day, but this is averaged by month, is, growing ever so slightly in 2020. And there was some increase in activity to 16 million in October 2020. But the steep incline, as you see in a darker color purple, in January was a year-over-year increase of more than 1,000%. And the same for the next month. That's dramatic. These aren't normal. Our hypothesis was that the stock market is usually affected by something that the company does, opens a new store, has a new technology, not that like chatter on a a subreddit is going to change the entire financial outcome and the amount of people involved in a stock. Yet here we were passing the baton over to Sonali for the data intensive.
Okay, so next step was doing the time series analysis for the prediction to see the historic data and then predicting. So I used the LSTM model that is called as long short-term memory and trying to predict my data. So the blue is the prediction. So based on the previous history, and then I'm trying to predict what exactly was the closing price of the data. So it's matching to the validation. So next is, this is my model that I used. So I don't know whether you know about the LSTM. This is one of the deep learning tool which is used for text analysis or doing the prediction. Next is doing the sentiment analysis. So now we are doing for a text analysis, like seeing what kind of the posts were there on the Reddit, Wall Street Bets, and trying to see whether all those posts or tweets were related to GameStop. So using the natural language processing, I'm trying to get those common words which are used in the tweets that or the posts that were there on the Wall Street. So you can see that the GameStop was the highest post. So this data set was for a 9 months data set containing about more than 60,000 text post. So from that, I'm trying to do bag of words and taking out the stop words and everything. So all those texts are converted to the words, and from that words which are related to GameStop that have been selected. And these are the most common words. And this x-axis shows the count of that tweet or that post, like people were using on the social media. So next step is like seeing which of the medium they had using a lot for the post or tweets related to GameStop. So we can see most of them were using the Reddit. Then comes like Twitter and Bloomberg and all other things. So yeah, so the next step was like those were the text, like whatever after data cleaning and getting the text. The next step is to break down those text into positive tweets or positive post, negative, and the neutral. So based on using the TF-ID vectorization and NLTK, that is natural language processing, for getting the score out of positive, neutral, and then seeing. So most of the posts were like the neutral post, some were negative, and next like the positive. So out of those posts, now I want to do what exactly were the posts related to positive word, doing the word cloud to see what kind of words or tweets where people were using. So you can see it's a GameStop, Robinhood, YOLO. That's where the positive tweets. Next, coming to the negative. So negative were something like stock, still US, all those Robinhood loss. Next, coming to the neutral. So like they are using some other kind of words. So this was all about. Next is the demo part. So we are doing a demo using the Streamlit. So here I can select the dates from when I want. So maybe I can select from 2011, and I want only till month May, or and select the GameStop as my ticker. So yeah, as of now, it's data from 2010 to 2022, and seeing the opening price. So I can see what exactly from the January 21, the high. And then, so we'll next focus on the closing price. So we can see the same high, like if I want month-wise or like day, I can get through this kind of plots. Next, seeing the moving average. So I'm taking the average of the first 100 days and predicting the next day stock price. So for example, I'm taking the average of first 100 days and then predicting it on the 101th day. Same thing, I'll move that slide towards like taking from the second day to 101 and then predicting it on 102nd day. So this is the moving average, that is the blue color line, and red color is the stock price, that's the actual price, and then has seeing the moving average. Now I'm going to do a moving average with 100 and 200 to see the upstream and the downtrend between the stock price. So if I move this thing, so if my blue line is above the red line, so we can see there is an uptrend. Whereas if my blue line is below the red line, so we can see the downtrend. So the stock is going down. Then coming up with a prediction to see the original price and then what was a prediction done with using the LSTM model. Then this is all about the sentiment analysis, that what I showed. So these are the text. So after getting this text, I'm cleaning them, taking out the stop words. Stop words are like the out, and then doing this is a bar graph which showing which of the media many people are using for GameStop, talking about the stocks. Then seeing the most common words that are related to GameStop in the tweets we could find, that is the GameStop, buy, hold, Robinhood. These are the main, and then coming up with the word cloud. Yeah, that's all about. So if I want my data from 21, it's taking more time to run. I'm not, yeah. So now I can see the data from 2021 to 2022, so that I get only that particular year and see how my stock price, the closing price and the opening price of my data is there. Same thing, I can see upstream, downstream, and then coming up with the prediction. So this is more clear because I'm using a very small data set. So this is my training data, and then I'm using it, validating, and then I'm doing the prediction. So I have to just change the start date and end date, and the sticker is GME. So that is all about. So the future work would be making my model, like the LSTM models, more complex, because now I have used the model is the very small model with having only 4 layers. I can make it more complex, and then training it with, instead of using only 20 epochs, I can train it on with like 50 epochs and reduce my loss. So right now the loss is like 0.034. I can still reduce my means and see what's my mean square error or root mean square error, and do the prediction. So that's all about. This is for reference, and thank you.